2024. It is now 8:04 p.m. I would like everyone to please, who were able to, stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, could you confirm for the record that we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor, we do have a quorum this evening. In council chambers, we have Councilmember Esteve, Councilmember Rogers, Mayor Pro Tem Wolfley, Mayor Adams, Councilmember Brady, and Councilmember Truesdale.
Thank you so very much. I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege at this time, and I'd like to say thank you. For those who are not aware, and many were, my family and I went through a tragedy as my eldest nephew was murdered last month. And so I just want to say thank you. We received a lot of phone calls, emails, texts, and cards. And I'd just like to thank all of you for your prayers and everything in uplifting our family. No one should have to die so early in their life and by such a random act of violence. Understand this was not in our area, that was not here. But I do want to express on behalf of my entire family the strength, the encouragement, and the uplift that we got from all of you. So God bless you and thank you for having done that. At this time, I will open to the council if there are any agenda additions, deletions, or amendments. Hearing none, we will move on to citizen participation. Madam City Clerk, do we have any?
No, Mayor, there's no one signed up this evening.
Okay. We will now go on to if there are any presentations.
No, sir.
Okay. We will now move to city boards and committees. We have committee appointments and swearing-ins this evening. Ms. Kalia Foster was interviewed on February 20th, 2024 for appointment to the Arts Committee. Council concurred to appoint her to the committee as a member for a 2-year term. Councilmember Esteve, I will open the floor to you for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move to include Ms. Keela Foster as a member of the Arts Committee for a 2-year term.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries. Next, we have Ms. Gina Winchester, was interviewed on February 20th, 2024 for appointment to the Community Outreach Committee. Council concurred to appoint her to the committee as a member for a 2-year term. Councilmember Steve, would you make a motion at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move to appoint Ms. Gina Winchester as a regular member of the Community Outreach Committee for a 2-year term.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say in favor. Hearing none, motion carries. Mr. Brandon Bowers was interviewed on February 20th, 2024 for appointment to the Community Recreation Committee. Council concurred to appoint him to the committee as a member for a 2-year term. Councilmember Truesdale, would you please make a motion at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Brandon Bowers for a 2-year term with the Community Recreation Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, calling for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. I would now ask if they are present at this time, would you please come forward to be sworn in? Okay. That's fine, come on.
We don't bite.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name. Do swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States. And that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland. And support the Constitution and laws thereof. And that I will, to the best of my skill and judgment, diligently and faithfully, without partiality or prejudice, execute the office of the regular, and state your committee, according to the Constitution and laws of the state. Congratulations. Now we have a certificate for each of you. Ms. Foster. And you got to go through the. Yeah, that's.
Thank you
That's
so much,
the
very
part.
much appreciate it. Thank you.
Gina, Ms. Winchester. Congratulations and thank you. There you go.
Thank you for volunteering. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This is Brandon
Appreciate it.
Bowers. Thank you so much.
Thank you for stepping forward.
Thanks a lot, appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
At this time, I will open the floor for any council announcements.
I will go, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Rogers?
Thank you so much. I would like to acknowledge this month as Women's History Month. This is an annual observance highlighted by the contributions of women in history. And now it's an international Women's Day because it's also acknowledged in the United Kingdom and Australia, as well as other parts of the country. So I did want to acknowledge March as not only the birthday of a lot of great people, but also Women's History Month. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other acknowledgements? Well, if no one else at this moment, I will be honored to say we're going to wish Councilman Dennis Brady an early happy birthday. His birthday is tomorrow, and we wish you all the best with that. Thank you very much. Hey. Well, we need to acknowledge Councilwoman at Large, Wanda Rogers, whose birthday is Thursday.
Yes. March the 7th.
All right, happy birthday.
No, mine is in June.
And last but not least, I believe Mr. Alfred Lott, our city manager, is celebrating his 25th birthday as well.
Very diplomatically.
Hey, thank you and a happy birthday to all of you. All right, moving on at this time, after giving you that great introduction, city manager, we'll open the floor for a city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council and residents out there in and on television there. Our staff is working really hard right now to start compiling the budget for FY 2025. I've completed my department reviews, and we're working on getting a balanced budget to you all in the first week in April. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. We will now move to the consent agenda, and I open the floor to a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the consent agenda as listed, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. We will now move on to old business, and that's the adoption of Ordinance 0124, amending the adopted budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, and ending June 2024, as embodied in Ordinance 0523, and amended by 01123, to appropriate funds for the purchase of a pickup truck for community services and to increase the appropriation for the Emergency Operations Center. I will turn it over to staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
The mayor properly lined out, excuse me, this ordinance for this evening. City staff proposes to increase the funding for a vehicle number 15, which was damaged by a fallen tree. It is to replace a 2023 Chevy Colorado pickup for $43,334. In addition, bids were received for the construction of a new emergency center, which exceeded the $200,000 appropriated in FY '24. Staff is requesting an additional $40,000 to match the lowest bid offer of $237,474. Therefore, the request that additional amount of $40,000 be appropriated for the Emergency Operations Center. The net effect of this will increase the fund balance by $83,400. Mayor, if you have any questions, I'll be...
Just one quick one, and I think you've addressed it, but I think to make sure everybody is aware, we do have the funds available, and it will not cause any reduction of any services or anything as we increase these outlay, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I will open the floor if there are any other questions from any other council members. Hearing none, I will at this time open the public hearing. Are there any speakers for the public hearing?
No, Mayor, there's no one signed up.
Since there's no one signed up, I now declare the public hearing closed. And we can take action at this time. I would be open to a motion at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to adopt Ordinance 0124.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, the motion carries. We will now move on to new business. The first order of new business is the Maryland Women's Business Center update. The executive director of the MWBC will provide an update on their programs and services for Bowie businesses. So welcome and thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Please adjust the mic, whatever way it is that makes you comfortable.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to address you tonight, particularly during Women's History Month. My name is Danette Nguyen, and I'm the Managing Director for the Maryland Women's Business Center. I'm joined this evening by Francisco Cartagena, our Program Manager for our Bowie office, to share insights on our program and extend our sincere appreciation for the continued support from the city. The Maryland Women's Business Center is a signature program of Rockville Economic Development Incorporated. We were established in 2010 with the mission to reduce barriers and level the playing field for women entrepreneurs and underrepresented communities in Maryland's capital region. As a certified SBA Women's Business Center, we are required to say women's in our name. However, I'd like to stress that we provide services to all entrepreneurs, regardless of gender identification. The Maryland Women's Business Center comprises some of the most highly experienced and knowledgeable professionals within the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Their experience is the cornerstone of our success and enables us to deliver impactful services to the businesses we support. One of our advisors' key strengths is their certification in the Growth Wheel Framework model. This robust tool provides entrepreneurs with a comprehensive perspective on their business, while also ensuring consistency and effectiveness across our counseling. Our advisory board consists of 9 diverse individuals who bring a wealth of experience and expertise to the table, ranging from business leaders to community advocates. They are passionate about supporting entrepreneurs and promoting diversity in business. The advisory board plays a crucial role in guiding the strategic direction of MWBC by providing advice to our leadership team. Their insights help us make informed decisions and navigate complex challenges more effectively. Our organizational chart illustrates cohesive structure designed to support and empower entrepreneurs effectively. Our main office supports the city of Rockville and the counties of Frederick and Montgomery. Our Bowie office extends services to the city of Bowie, Prince George's County, and the Bowie State University community. I'm now going to turn it over to Francisco.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I just wanted to preface by saying thank you for your service. A lifetime ago, I was the intern that would place the waters before the council meetings, and so it's nice to be on the other end. As introduced by Danette, I am the program manager for the Maryland Women's Business Center located at the Bowie State University. Today we'll be sharing with you key updates on how we're enhancing our support for small businesses, particularly focusing on our recent initiatives and the impact we've made. We'll delve into specifics of our FY24 funding, detailing how the resources are being allocated to support our mission. We will present current data specific to Prince George's County and specific to the city of Bowie, illustrating how our efforts are resonating locally. And we will provide an in-depth look at our Maryland Women's Business Center Shop Local Incubator program, highlighting its objectives, successes, and how it's fostering small business growth. Last but not least, we'll discuss our ongoing initiatives, strategic partnerships, and emerging opportunities, emphasizing how collaboration is key to our shared success. We empower small businesses through personalized counseling sessions, meeting entrepreneurs at any stage of their journey. By understanding their community and ambitions, we offer customized guidance and integration into their local entrepreneurial ecosystem. Utilizing the Growth Wheel framework, we provide strategic advice and actionable plans. We provide strategic advice and actionable plans for our clients to follow. All of our counselors are certified in this model. We use this framework to help entrepreneurs navigate their path while aligning our services with their evolving needs. Some of the ways we align our services with their needs are through training and programming. The Elements of Entrepreneurship series is a virtual training program designed to provide entrepreneurs with a comprehensive overview of essential steps and considerations for starting and running a successful business. It covers various foundational topics, including guiding participants through the key aspects of entrepreneurship, from ideation to execution, helping them build a solid base for their business ventures. Or How to Start a Business in the City of Bowie, personally my favorite. It's a series, a cornerstone of a local engagement with the city's Economic Development Office. We offer tailored resources and networking for Bowie entrepreneurs. The inaugural event took place successfully on January 18th, 2024. We were able to gather 30 attendees here at City Hall. It was from 5:30 to 7:30. It was fantastic. I really wish some of you could have seen it. Our next event in this series is scheduled for April 3rd. This time around, we're going to host it in Spanish. And we are planning a French language version of this event later in the year. Our goal, again, is to meet businesses to meet clients where they are and to serve the underserved. Erect is one of the other in-person networking events that we have monthly, and Empower Her is our annual event held during Women's History Month, which serves to bring together service providers and entrepreneurs locally. We also host a virtual speed networking session monthly, which brings a lot of local entrepreneurs together in a very mobile space. As you can imagine, virtual networking tends to be a little bit more accessible than having to attend an event.
Thank you. When looking at our funding, as a designated business resource partner of the SBA, we receive a $150,000 grant for each of our 2 offices, requiring a 1-to-1 match following their base year. Currently, we have a 1-to-1 match for our main grant or our core grant. And beginning in August of this year, we are required to have a 1-to-1 match for our BSU grant. While we have identified potential funding opportunities to support this requirement, securing these funds is not guaranteed. Funding constraints directly impact our capacity to develop and staff programs. MWBC's programs and initiatives serve as catalysts, not only for individual businesses, but also for their larger ecosystem. The transformative benefits are evident, as women, when provided with proper support, are more inclined to reinvest their profits in education, family, and community initiatives. Strategic partnerships with local governments enable us to fulfill our mission effectively by pulling resources and expertise. The matching funding received from jurisdictions combined with collaborative efforts with the City of Bowie's Economic Development Office, the Bowie BIC, PGEDC, and BSU's Entrepreneurial Innovation Center amplifies our impact and ensures a comprehensive and effective support system for entrepreneurs in the region.
So we are the Maryland Women's Business Center located at Bowie State University, and as you can imagine, we're all about business. And so I want to clarify and preface that despite the fact that we are located inside Bowie State University, we are not a matriculated program from the university. We are able to be part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, which in turn allows us to be nimble and provide services to City of Bowie residents and also Prince George's County residents. The local investment of the City of Bowie has been, or if you will, the return on investment, has initially grown from a $5,000 grant to a $20,000 grant since FY 2017. This signifies the effective utilization of City of Bowie's investments and enhancing our service capacity and community impact. Specifically, over the 7.5 years, we counseled 323 clients who are City of Bowie residents at a cost of just $250 per client. Demonstrating prudent use of funds, our events and training sessions open to all amplify reach beyond just those counseled, enriching the broader Bowie community. These numbers are reflective of the City of Bowie only. We do serve the entire Prince George's County area, but given our audience, we wanted to make sure we had data specific to the city. Predominantly, we support African American entrepreneurs alongside Caucasian, Asian, and Hispanic community members. This again reflects our alignment with Bowie's values of diversity and inclusion, creating a thriving, inclusive business ecosystem.
Thank you. Now I'm going to look at one of our targeted incubators, MWBC Shop Local. Our MWBC Shop Local retail incubator began in 2019 and acts as a launch pad and a start for startup and early stage retail and small scale manufacturing businesses. With the original location in Rockville Town Square, this incubator combines both a program and space-based model. The program model provides technical assistance, while the space-based approach minimizes financial risk through shared space. By combining the strengths of each model, MWBC Shop Local creates a pipeline for retail, showcasing diverse and locally grown businesses. The program consists of 2 6-month-long cohorts that participate with participants receiving one-on-one counseling, a business-intensive training series, peer-to-peer networking, retail management skill development, and maker events that not only increase foot traffic, but also facilitate placemaking. Since the program's inception, we have assisted more than almost 40 women entrepreneurs, with 77% from historically underserved communities. These entrepreneurs have generated over $400,000 in sales, and 87% of graduates have successfully opened a brick-and-mortar or online store. Moreover, the program has actively engaged the community, generating more than 1,200 in retail foot traffic through maker events within a 6-month period. Building on the success of our Rockville location, MWBC Shop Local reached a significant milestone earlier this year with the opening of a second location in Howard County.
And I would like to share some of the initiatives that we have ongoing at the Maryland Women's Business Center and Bowie State University. The main one is Strategic Planning Workshop. We are launching on March 13th our pilot Strategic Planning Business Workshop Series, which will empower entrepreneurs. I would like to highlight that 50% of the participants in this pilot program are City of Bowie residents. The goal is to help these entrepreneurs develop and execute business growth strategies. We are also supporting local organizations by aiding the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Prince George's County chapter. We're facilitating the How to Develop a Pitch competition with Bowie residents making 14% of the participants in their cohort. We're excited about the potential collaborations with the City of Bowie for upcoming events for this particular initiative. The potential collaborations with the City of Bowie for this program, or as I should better word it, pitch competition, will take place on a mock pitch event on April 13th and a final pitch competition on May 4th. And we're in the works of figuring out where that location will be. Thank you. Another initiative that we have working is our Digital Marketing Challenge initiative, or Run DMC, as we like to call it. We are launching a new pilot micro-grant program targeted at the Prince George's County community and City of Bowie communities, including Bowie State University affiliates. This program is designed to empower local entrepreneurs, providing them with essential digital marketing skills and resources. With a $5,000 grant, we're creating 10 500 microgrants to support entrepreneurs who complete our educational workshops and counseling. This initiative not only boosts their digital marketing capabilities, but also directly invests in our local business talent. $500 can make a world of a difference for a starting business in digital marketing. Thank you.
Earlier, I provided highlights about our MWBC Shop Local program. I also wanted to bring to your attention an opportunity to bring the program to the City of Bowie. MWBC Shop Local at Bowie Town Center offers a real opportunity to support and advance economic development for homegrown businesses in the city, while enhancing existing locally owned ones at the center by providing retail-specific resources and training for enhanced competitiveness. With each cohort graduating in 6 months, the intention of the program is to enhance the vitality of the town center by providing opportunities for small business owners to establish themselves within the city and then find a permanent home here. MWBC Shop Local's proven tools have realized tremendous success in guiding entrepreneurs towards sustainable growth, with the majority opening locations within the jurisdictions we support. To implement the Shop Local program at Bowie Town Center, we hope to negotiate a below-market deal for the space, along with obligation for rent and a full-time staff member. If requested, we are prepared to provide a comprehensive proposal detailing the benefits and logistics for implementing the MWBC Shop Local at Bowie Town Center. We understand that economic development is a team effort, and we are thankful for the support and collaboration from the city and BSU's community. The collaborative approach enhances the support available for ensuring businesses have access to a comprehensive suite of resources and guidance to facilitate their growth and success. Thank you for your time this evening.
I truly would like to say thank you for all you're doing, and thank you for being here this evening. That was a pretty short but comprehensive overview of what you're trying to do. At this time, I would like to open it up to the council if they have any questions for you. Councilmember Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. It was wonderful. Thank you. Just a couple questions. One, how do you go about advertising? How do people know about you?
Go ahead. Sure.
Thank you for the question. And so we are featured in the City of Bowie Economic Development website. What we like to do is we like to work through our resource partners to make sure that we are inherently part of the local entrepreneurial ecosystem and we get connected from the referrals as well as the ones that we provide. We also have a marketing team and campaigns that we host, and we do outreaches and mail blasts through our various mediums.
Okay, so in full disclosure, I'm the sitting president of the Chamber of Commerce, and this is a very interesting program I didn't know about. So I was wondering how you went about marketing the program so that I could make sure that we tap into where you're marketing and get it out to our folks.
Well, we would love to be able to present to the chamber as well, Councilmember Rogers, if that's an opportunity. We like to think of ourselves as connectors and make sure that we are, providing resources. We earlier spoke to one of our programs, Interact, which we will be hosting here in the month of April or thereafter. And so, yes, we would love to be able to present to the city Chamber of Commerce. But yes, we also have an extensive marketing campaign on social media as well.
Okay, thank you. And one other question. So how do you know when you're successful? Do you have success metrics or measures?
Yes, and I'll let you dive in. So our success rate, if you will, or what I like to call as our conversion rate, it's about 6%. So out of the data that we showed, 6% of the clients that we counsel end up opening or establishing a successful business. Again, that has been the data specific to the city of Bowie, but that is about the success rate that we have.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions from any other council member? Councilmember Andubobadu.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, colleagues, and I'd like to take this time to apologize for my tardiness. I wasn't feeling well this evening. First of all, thank you so much for your presentation. What an insightful presentation on Women's History Month. That's amazing. Thank you. Did you time that? Was that? Okay.
We owe it all to John.
Okay, fantastic. So a couple of questions on my end. The first one is you talked about you connecting participants to access to funding. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what types of access to funding you're connecting participants to?
Definitely. I'm going to actually let Francisco take that, especially because we just did connect a city resident to an SBA resource and also to another funder opportunity.
Yeah, so happy to answer that. And so we are what we like to call, we are integrated members of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And as Danette mentioned earlier, we are connectors. And so part of the work that we do is we work with local vetted SBA resource partners. And when I say we meet the client where they are, we really mean it. The preponderance of our clients are at the ideation stage. They know they want to get our business up and running, but they have no idea how to start. However, we do have a handful of clients, if not more, who are ready to scale, who are ready to seek funding to build a relationship with the bank. And the way that we work is we make a personal connection with the VP of financing for an approved SBA lending office. And the way that connection works is we don't just hand you over to some email. Right? We understand that our communities work better when you can put a name and a face and a relationship to saying, here is a trusted banker that you can potentially discuss and find out what potential growth strategies you can have for your business. Aside from that, what we also like to do is provide financial literacy and partner with like-minded organizations who also do that work in this space. When we say funding options, we all know we can tap into programs or loans provided by the SBA, but we also have local grants. There's also local foundations that provide it. We like to provide access and information about all the resources available. While we are not going to handhold and provide a completed application for our clients, our goal is to provide access because we understand that in our community, it's not a lack of will, it's a lack of access to the knowledge. I hope that answers your question.
That's great. So it sounds like you're connecting participants more to loan sources than it is grant opportunities. And if I hear you correctly, it sounds like there could be an opportunity to explore some more grant partnerships to bring access to those fundings. I know Troy with TEDCO is in the back of the room there. So there goes another wink, wink, nudge, nudge potential partner that you could be using to scale pipeline, because you talked about a lot of your participants are in the state or past the ideation stage, and really what they're looking at is scale, and some of those funding opportunities could be really helpful. Part of it goes into my next question. Talk a little bit more about your pipeline exceeding the program. So if I looked correctly on your presentation, you help participants with pitch opportunities, other funding sources, but are you helping them post-program getting to other accelerator programs? I know AWS has some, I know L'Oreal has some, and there are a number of different institutions in DC as well as Maryland that have them as well. So are you then handing them up to another organization or helping them post the program?
We are helping the entrepreneurs throughout the the life stage of their entrepreneurial journey. What we find is that once an entrepreneur participates in a program, sometimes there isn't another roadmap for where they go. And so we provide them with that one-to-one counseling. We've seen our successes with entrepreneurs that have come to our counseling, participated in our training, then participated in incubators such as the University of Shady Grove's Equity Incubator, and then come back to us for more counseling services. So that's typically what we've done. For our retail incubator, specifically MWBC Shop Local, we ensure that during that 6-month cohort, not only are you participating in the business intensive training series from everything from financial projections to visual merchandising to operations, but you're also doing the one-on-one counseling, you're doing the peer networking, and then we identify a succession plan. So once you graduate, because you have to graduate in 6 months, we've got a plan to work with you after that as well.
And are you also providing, like, for example, there are a number of different partners that provide things like ad credits or like computing credits. Like, do you have partnerships with them to be able to provide those types of resources as well?
We are not providing any credits at this moment.
Okay. Are you exploring partnerships with like Facebook and others to get access to some of those?
That's a great recommendation, and we'll look into it.
Okay, thank you. And then also, last question, in terms of new members, how are you amplifying the program? I know you talked about some of your existing partnerships to get applicants, but how are you amplifying the program throughout the Bowie community?
Sure. So the nice thing about being inside physically of the Bowie Innovation Center is that we have an SBA office next door, the 8A program down the hall, and we're also on a college campus. So we have 3 really great resource partners that help us amplify our voice. But in addition to that, we serve a unique community in the sense that we can provide services to all who come through our door. Some of the resource partners that I mentioned have specific populations that they have to serve due to various reasons. We are a little bit more nimble in the sense that we can meet a broader scope and meet a broader audience. And so the way that we do it is by simply voicing that. A lot of the times what we're finding recently is that we're getting a lot of referrals from a lot of these resource partners because they deal with specific clients that are beyond the ideation stage, and that is really where our specialty comes. We understand that the average entrepreneur has a full-time job, right? Can't attend a class or go to a VC group and learn about entrepreneurship, right? Has a community that might rely on them financially, and that's another societal burden that they have to deal with. So a lot of the work that we do is promoting wellness and safe spaces for underserved entrepreneurs to come together. And when you project that into the community, it echoes. And it echoes so much so that we had the 100 Black Women of Prince George's County chapter reach out to us as a resource partner. And I think that's a testament of the reach that we're having and the impact in the community.
Thank you so much. The last point that I'd like to make, just for my colleagues, is the question is, do you have capacity? So if each and every one of us put your program in our newsletters today and told the entire community about you of about 50-something thousand, would you have capacity for more applications?
Well, that is something that we are looking for as well in terms of when we propose the MWBC Shop Local, is to bring a full-time business consultant. At the moment, we have Francisco Cartagena, who is our program manager, and Bowie University students as our interns, but we would love to have funding for associate business consultant full-time as well.
Awesome. The last point I'll make, I know I keep saying last point. It is truly my last point. One of the most I'm also on the entrepreneurship journey at the moment, which is very exciting and terrifying at the same time. But one of the books I just most recently read was When Women Lead by Julia Bernstein. And it's a very fascinating book that talks about women's access to funding and preparedness when they go into pitch competitions. So I'd love to see if there was an opportunity to continue to support there and prepare women, since you are the women's business accelerator, to just make sure that as women are going forth and trying to get access to capital and funding and preparedness for pitch competitions, that there's a specific type of support that's dedicated so that they're ready to show up and get around some of the venture or funding questions that might come their way. So I'd love to see you dive deeper there. But thank you so much. Great presentation.
Thank you.
One last question, and that being about funding. How are we as a city supporting you? How do you feel that's going? Go ahead.
We receive a grant, the partnership, through John and the Economic Development Office. We work collaboratively. We truly appreciate the support that we receive. We understand that there is so much more we could do. We believe the MWBC Shop Local Retail Incubator would be a true asset, not only to the city and its surrounding community, but also to bring the traffic from BSU's community here as well. We know that if we were receiving funding for a consultant, there could be so much more capacity we could bring.
Now, I opened the door for you to make sure that if there's anything you see in particular for your program or whatever, that you let us know. We're about to go into our budget series, and we will be talking about what we're going to do, particularly from a economic development standpoint, which this plays a role in. So we would like to know if there is anything in particular. Not to say we would, but I would strongly recommend that if you have a suggestion, something you'd like to request of us in addition, please make sure that you do that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Councilman Steve?
No.
Sorry, just a couple of things real quick. How many of your, talking about the types of businesses that the entrepreneurs that you work with are starting?
Well, how much time do you have? Because I can be here for all day. So part of the reason why I love doing this work, as opposed to just consulting for a big firm or working somewhere else and having to put up reports, is because we have our ear very close to the ground to innovation, right? Which is what this country is made out of. People are identifying problems that we are dealing with on a daily basis and really, really putting their minds to what solutions they can bring. But they're also bringing solutions and businesses to fruition as a way of overcoming challenges. One of my personal favorite stories is of a student who also happens to reside within the city of Bowie, who started a bakery business out of a way to overcome the death of her father. The bakery took off. I met her at my last gig in the last incubator I was running. And when she caught wind that I started working in her college campus with the Maryland Women's Business Center in Bowie State, we reconnected. Her business had scaled tremendously, and by my 90-day review in my current role at the Maryland Women's Business Center, she had come knocking on our door because she said, I am being presented with an offer to buy an existing bakery as opposed to starting from scratch with an existing clientele. And I know my product is good, but I have no idea how to, can you please help me? In a matter of a week, we were able to connect that entrepreneur with an SBA-approved lender who could hand her a folder and walk through, this is what an application process looks like. Not only one, but two, right? Because we are the Maryland Women's Business Center, and our goal is to provide access. That is one of my favorite sort of close to heart businesses that I like to share about. But we have very innovative ones, like Zero In. It's a business that specifies on creating digital footprints using drones. And so what they do is they scan an entire town hall area, and instead of you using Google Maps to go and take a look on how to get there, which you can do, they will then zoom in and scan inside each store. And so if you're a person who might not have accessibility to go to a town hall or to visit or to have an idea what it might look like, or if you're a tourist and you want to check it out before you go in, you can now have a 360 view of the city, and then you can zoom into the businesses and you can directly shop from that. And so it provides exposure to local businesses because now you don't have to have your own individual platform to market. And it provides exposure to the local city because now you're more than just a Google map, right? You're an environment where people can come and see your products. Those are two examples. We also have quite a few businesses that rely on product making and wellness creation, as well as financial literacy and manufacturing. Because we are in the ecosystem where we are, we also have businesses that come from finding a niche. One of the specific ones that I was wowed by is it's a woman entrepreneur who for the longest has worked for property realtors. And in that world, there is a specific niche for you to provide a summary on lease documents. It's usually a 40, 50-page document that you have to condense into 1 or 3 pages. Well, this woman has been doing it for 35 years. And she is so good at it that she has now built a clientele over the last 3 years because she decided to go on her own. And each of those resumes nets her about $2,000 to $3,000, and she can knock about 50 in a month. So she came to the Maryland Women's Business Center. She said, this is a unique skill set. You can't learn this in school. I've learned it through my career. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. And those two won't do this because it's not worth their time. And so can you help me grow it? And so we helped develop a training plan so she can train other staff, which in turn will help her scale the business, employ people locally, and potentially then scale it, so on and so forth. So it's very wide. It's very innovative. What we like to do also is we recognize our scope and our capacity. So as much as I can try and consult as many clients as I can, I'm not an expert in every single aspect of business development or manufacturing, if you will. So part of what we do a lot is connect them to resource partners in the area that we know can continue the growth and sort of help them scale.
I appreciate that. Any of the businesses you work with still standing with physical locations in Bowie today?
Yes.
Okay. Any in particular you're happy about?
Yes. There's one in particular that is located right outside the Bowie Big. And if I'm remembering correctly, is Bowie, it's Ray's Flowers. It's not within the city limits of the city of Bowie, but it's one of our more recent clients that we're working for.
Gotcha, okay. Talk to me a little bit about the difference between the Bowie Business Innovation Center and you guys. You're housed in the same space. You mentioned in your presentation you collaborate. You said that you oftentimes work with a slightly different clientele than they do because of potentially funding or some other limitations. We're also supporters of them. So I'm just kind of curious, what sort of synergy is being created? Obviously, we're giving money to two different groups to do very similar overlapping work. You're literally in the same space. Talk to me a little bit how you actually collaborate with them and how there might be how we might be getting more bang of our buck with you guys being together.
Wonderful. Thank you for that question. When we look at the Bowie BIC, we really try to leverage their 8A certification program and their expertise. And so we, as Francisco stated earlier, rely on subject matter experts on areas that we're not the expert at. What we have done is collaborated with the SBA as well so that we could get educational training in terms of the overview of the SBA program, 8A program. However, we definitely look to the Bowie BIC in terms of their expertise. Also, when the Bowie BIC finds that maybe one of their clients isn't ready to participate in an SBA in the 8A program, they connect with us so we can provide one-on-one counseling to get them to that next level. I'm not sure if you wanted to elaborate on that.
Yeah, one of the other ways that we collaborate is some of their programming also, as you can imagine, has a broad reach. And so we, as I mentioned earlier, we provide specific counseling services for folks at the ideation stage. Just to provide the council with a brief overview, in order for you to be able to apply for the 8A program, you have to be well past the ideation stage. It's, as I'm getting a lot of head shakes here, so I'm sure you're aware of what that entails. And so what we like to do is we really try to foster through the idea of ideation. And we make, imagine we're a track team, right? So we pass that baton when we know that the relay is in place and that the time is right. Simultaneously, it happens the other way around. We do get referrals as well from clients who they might come across who might not be ready for the 8A program or simply just not well educated yet on the requirements or how to get there. And so I would like to, if I could put it in one word, it's a symbiotic way of collaborating.
I appreciate that. I have a lot more, but we have a lot on the agenda tonight, and we could stay up all night chatting, so I will follow up with you guys later on. But I appreciate the presentation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so very much. I would like to make one last comment. You may be aware that the county, DPI, is putting together a strike force. And they're going after basically businesses that are not in compliance. So they're going to be going after many businesses, giving them an opportunity to come within compliance, to be able to do their business, where they're also going to be going after businesses that they're going to shut down. But it may be a good opportunity for you to reach out to the county with what they're doing with that strike force, because they're talking about businesses that are operating but aren't in compliance. And you may be able to help them do that understand the business model better and be able to help them along that way. And that would help all of us to make sure that we had some businesses, you know, when you talk about safety and everything else, that they're functioning businesses within code compliance. So just a thought, you may want to reach out to them as well.
Thank you for that recommendation. We do partner with some of our local jurisdictions with permitting offices and local procurement to talk about resources, but also the process. So this is a great opportunity for us to connect with the county. So thank you for that, Mayor.
Yeah, so they're making a big push right now. So you may want to be able to help the businesses survive.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? If not, hey, thank you so very much. This was a little longer than we probably anticipated, but it was great information. I think it was great information shared both ways. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will have Mr. Maryland Technology Development Corp., TEDCO, Mr. Troy Lamel Stovall, Chief Executive Officer for TEDCO, will brief council on resources TEDCO offers. And again, I'd like to say congratulations and thank you for being at the helm.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council. My name is Troy Lamel Stovall. I humbly serve as the CEO of TEDCO. I am a resident of Prince George's County. I actually have a Bowie address, but I am not, regrettably, in the city of Bowie. I want to do several things tonight. I did not bring a presentation, but I did bring some goodies I'll leave over here, some souvenirs from TEDCO. So for those that may not know, TEDCO is the state of Maryland's early stage technology, life and sciences. We invest and support in early stage tech and life sciences companies. So, Mr. Mayor, you are good friends. You know, I grew up in Houston, Texas. I grew up in Catholic school, so we dissected sentences. So I'm gonna come back and dissect that sentence for you all. If you remember that, they had the nuns that wrap you over the ankles with knuckles with that. But before I do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about TEDCO. I'm also I'm a computer scientist and engineer by training. So some numbers. TEDCO's been around for 25 years. We just released a report that we've had over a $2.7 billion economic impact to the state of Maryland over those 25 years, and we know those numbers are understated. We know it's actually greater than $3 billion. We have a staff of 40 people. There at TEDCO over those 25 years, we've hired over about 180 people, so we're a very small entity. We are technically a quasi-government part of the state, and that's an important part of this because we do direct investments, and I'll come more to that. We do direct investments. We use venture capital principles to do investments and support these early-stage tech and life sciences companies. And that $2.7 billion of impact, we have also created over 12,000 jobs with that. Again, this is across the state of Maryland. But we also recognize that there is a need to focus on certain demographics. I've been doing venture capital for a number of years, and the last year they actually just put out some reports. In the last year, 2023, 0.3% of venture capital dollars went to an entity started by someone of color or a woman across the United States. 0.3%. In my engineering and computer science world, you would round that to zero. Here in the state of Maryland, at TEDCO in the fiscal 23, and our fiscal years mirror the state fiscal year, so it ended in June. So in June of 2023, in that fiscal year, we had over 300 applications to the investment funds, which I'll talk about, over 300 applications. Over 50% of those applications came from an entity started by someone of color, a woman, or from our rural areas. Of those 300 applications, we did 60 investments. Again, we didn't do grants, we did 60 investments of about $75 million across those 60 investments. Over almost 60% of those investments went to an entity started by someone of color, woman, or from our rural regions. We're over-indexed towards those areas, and that is by design. And because we recognize the need for that. And I'll talk more about some of the efforts we're doing for Black women in particular, Councilwoman. So let me go back to that sentence and dissecting that sentence. So we invest. So TEDCO has 3 investment funds that we have. We have an investment fund called the Social Impact Fund. We have a pre-seed fund, and we have a Maryland Venture Fund. And I'm going to go backwards. The Maryland Venture Fund is a traditional venture capital fund. We're investing in what's called a Series A or B fund. Series A is a round of investments. Those are companies that are normally revenue generating, or if they're life science, and I'll talk more about life science and tech in a minute, they are beyond, they're towards a clinical stage, toward a longer part of the clinical stage. And so we're investing anywhere from $500,000 up to $2.5 million. One thing you have to understand with the TechCo model, TechCo, the goal of us, our goal, because we do get some money from the state, but a majority of our money is from our returns. We actually get to keep the returns from the investments that we make, and we have to use those returns to make future investments and pay our bills, because some of our money does not come from the state. The state has already pre-funded us, and so we have to act just like any venture capital fund. So the reason I say that is because we're getting them ready as they're going through the process, and it was great to follow our friends at the just followed me, just came before me. Our goal is we put $1 in, just like all of you have investments. We put $1 in, our goal is to get a multiple return on those investments. We just had one last year that had an 18x return. This was one of our investments, had an 18x return. We actually, there's a metric in the venture capital business called TV. There's a lot of metrics. You've heard IRR and return on capital. There's one called TVPI, total value paid in capital. That means how much money in addition to what you put in, given what you have you gotten back. A very good venture capital fund has a return of anywhere from 1.7 to 1.8. TechCo is at 1.4. And so you have to understand, those other venture capital funds can invest anywhere they want, in any sector they want. We are restricted to Maryland and to certain sectors. And so for us to be able to have those types of returns with those types of restrictions puts us in best in class. We're a best in class investment management. We have over $250 million of what's called assets under management. That's another terminology that's used. That makes TechCo one of the largest funds in the country managed by someone of color in the country. Okay? And so these are the metrics I needed you to understand. So back to this, so we have the Maryland Venture Fund, which invests in later stage companies. We have our pre-seed fund, which invests in those companies that may be right beyond having what's called a proof of concept, or POC, or minimum viable product. And they may have a few customers, but they're right at that edge of maybe revenue generating. And we're placing anywhere from $250,000 up to $1 million into those companies. And then finally, with our social impact fund, we recognize that many companies that you heard about, again, we're only investing in tech and life science, and I'll explain that in a minute. Well, actually, let me go ahead and do that now. So what is a tech company? We believe any company can be a tech-enabled company. And I've had this conversation with you. Any company can be a tech-enabled company. And as a bad example that I tell, and I think all of you will get what I'm about to say, if George and Weezy Jefferson come back and start a cleaning business, and they have technology that can clean clothes better, faster, cheaper, or deliver them in some Uber-like fashion, we want to ask ourselves, are George and Weezy, and I included Weezy in this, are George and Weezy tech entrepreneurs who just happen to be in the dry cleaning business? Or they dry cleaning entrepreneurs using technology to fundamentally change the dry cleaning business? In either case, we as TechCo want to invest in that technology. Because we cannot invest in retail. By statute, we cannot invest in retail, and there's certain other industries we cannot invest in. But for instance, cannabis. So we can't invest on the retail side of cannabis, but we can definitely invest on the growing side if they're using technology around hydroponics or aquaponics in a unique way to grow some of those things. And so we've been able to figure out how to get into some retail-oriented businesses on the technology side of how they get into those businesses. So I say that, and I preluded with that back to the Social Impact Fund, because there are many companies that, we could put money in, and they will never be ready for a traditional venture capital fund. And they may go off and become a $3, $5, $7 million company, and maybe pay us back a 1x return. We want to be able to celebrate that 1x as much as that 18x that I told you about a few moments ago. So we create the Social Impact Fund that gives us the ability to invest in those companies, anywhere from $250,000 up to $500,000. And what we also do with those companies, we also put a coach with them. We pay for a coach to spend time with them. Many of you may have even heard of the Builder Fund. It's a state fund called the Builder Fund. It was $1 million when they started. It is now $7.5 million because of the work that we've done. We have that within the Social Impact Fund. The Builder Fund is statutorily for, quote, socially, economically, and disadvantaged individuals. It's for individuals who don't have traditional access to capital. We use the Builder Fund, the Social Impact Fund, and also what's called the Inclusion Fund to give us access to get into communities that are underfunded and not allowing us. So that's our investment platform. And the last piece on the investment platform, we have from the federal government created a program called SSBCI, State Small Business Credit Initiative. It's version 2. Version 1 was 10 years ago about $1 billion. This version is $10 billion. The state of Maryland got $200 million out of that. TEDCO got $50 million of that $200 million. Of that $50 million, we've done 4 things with it. We put more money into the Maryland Venture Fund. We put more money into the Seed Fund. We started the Social Impact Fund. And we also recognize that the challenge for particularly people of color and women is not only that they can't get funding, that they lack funding to be managed. And so we are now an investor in 3 funds, one of which is managed by a woman. We're an investor in what's called a limited partner. We're a limited partner in venture capital funds that are focused on the state of Maryland. So we have a black woman that we just put $3 million into. We haven't announced the other 2 yet. One is run by a black man and a black woman, and the other was run by a black man, a white guy, and a white guy, and I think a Hispanic guy. It'll be the 3 funds. We'll be putting $3 million to each of those funds. Those other 2 will be announced in the next few weeks. So we invest. We also support. So we work with all the universities. We do a lot of work with Bowie State, a ton of work with Bowie State. Dr. Bro is a dear friend. I spend a lot of time with her. We work with the BIC as well. And so because we have 2 efforts. We have one effort called the Maryland Innovation Initiative. That works with the 5 research institutions here in the state of Maryland. Those 5 research institutions, Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland College Park, University of Maryland Baltimore County, University of Maryland Baltimore, and Morgan State University. We accelerate the technology transfer. In other words, we take that stuff that's happening in their labs and bring it to market. But I think we all recognize that innovation doesn't stop at those 5 institutions. So 2 years ago, we had $500,000 from the state legislators to do a pilot with Frostburg State and Bowie State to look at a new model for MII that focused on what's called the comprehensive university, our 4 universities and our 2 universities. And you may have heard there's a bill that's got introduced that we're supporting that's going to run some programs through TEDCO called the Baltimore Innovation Initiative that's going to create for the 4-year and 2-year institutions a model like MII. And I'm also working with Delegate Jazz Lewis on a very specific program for Prince George's County that will look at funding, bringing a small version of what we call our Urban Business Innovation Initiative to Prince George's County. And so we're very focused on the county as well as Baltimore City because we recognize there's just a lot of opportunities that have gone untapped and uninvested in those 2 municipalities. So we invest and we support. Let me close out on support. We recognize that a lot of black women don't get the support that they need. And so back in last November, through a variety of efforts, we launched the Black Women's Founders Forum. We brought together 7 female founders. Some of them are TEDCO portfolio companies. And then we had 6 venture capital funds managers. And we had these ladies speak to these investors and say, this is what they were going through. And you heard some amazing stories of what these ladies had to go through to get invested. One of the ladies talked about how she was a surrogate mom. She was so dedicated to her idea. She was a surrogate mom twice in order to fund her opportunity she needed to do. And so the venture capital, and so from that we had a Coppin State standing room only crowd, and a lot have happened since that. So we invest, we support. I talked about technology and life sciences. And so again, technology for us is any technology-enabled company. And I think sometimes that does get a little challenging to understand what that could mean because people think that just because they have a technology, we will invest in it. No. Again, I told you we had 300 applications come in. We only funded 60. And what I also didn't tell you as I close, Mr. Mayor, and I'll take any questions, we would just recognize PitchBook is one of these publications that tracks all the venture capital investments across the United States. So just recently, TEDCO was honored as the #5 most active venture capital fund in the Mid-Atlantic region. And that's a pretty high bar because that's not something we strive for. It's just part of the model that we have. And so we are very much focused on doing the things that we know we need to do, both for communities that have been underserved as well as the overall. We have other programs that also allow us to look at cyber training, to look at animal testing, also to look at, we have a cyber fund, an Equitech fund that's looking to make investments in workforce and the infrastructure here in the state around manufacturing, as well as our stem cell work. So again, we do a lot of work that really does help to change and create a sustainable economic model based on technology and life sciences. So Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time. Open for any questions you may have and appreciate you being here.
First and foremost, thank you for being here. I think that was a lot of information in a very short time.
I tried.
But I hope that whet the appetite of those in the city listening, here in the chambers, as well as my fellow council members. So again, I am familiar, and I am familiar with how successful TEDCO has helped to make other businesses and to grow here in the state. Having said that, I will not take up much time, and I'll simply ask, are there any questions from any of the council members? If not, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Yes, so our website, tedcomd.com. TEDCO, TEDCO, MD like Maryland.com. Has a ton of information there, ton of information about how to apply. There's an application process. There's actually a query so people can understand the types of funds. And by the way, I should say, it's a very important point, you don't have to apply to a fund. We're really moving to a model where you apply to TEDCO, and we'll figure out. Matter of fact, we love stacking all the different stuff that we have. It's okay to get multiple pieces of TEDCO, and we love building. We actually have a fund here, an entity here in Bowie that we put a lot of those pieces together for them.
Well, thank you so much, and I look.
Councilman Ndu.
Councilwoman M. Mamadou.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. First of all, what a dynamic presentation. Thank you so much for coming and giving. It's good to see you too. I'm so happy that you came to speak to us. I wanted to share for the public, especially for District 4. This weekend, I had the opportunity to spend some time, because I'm in my entrepreneurship journey, to spend some time with a TEDCO applicant company that is in the medical devices landscape that just had amazing things to say. So I really wanted to bring that forward to our community and let them know that there are funding opportunities out here. We do have TEDCO that's doing some amazing work in the community, and it's crazy because I just happened to meet this founder out and about on the streets of DC, and then they just started talking about how they were considering taking their company to Virginia. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, well, why would you do that? You're a Bowie resident. Like, are you crazy? Have you heard of TEDCO? And then they started talking about the amazing opportunities that you've presented to them. So I really do want to encourage those who are in our community, if you are seeking funding opportunities, even if you just have a question, even if it's something that you don't even feel like you may be qualified for, your company may not be in the right stage, I do encourage you to check out TEDCO and at least reach out to have a conversation and let them tell you no. Let them be the ones to decline you. And most likely they won't even do that. They'll just pivot you towards a better resource that's more suited for where you are at that time. So I do want to thank you. And then the other thing I want to ask you is there anything that we as a council can do to support you and this project that you're working on? You talked about the Urban Business Innovation Initiative. What can we do to support you in making sure that Bowie is a part of that for our budding entrepreneurs?
Again, great seeing you. Thank you for the question. So I want to go back to the first part of it, because the entrepreneur journey, and my marketing team always gets mad when I say this, and I hope I don't offend anyone. But because I've started several companies and have funded too many companies to name. But the term that I use, and you will appreciate this, I think, Mr. Mayor, is I say that I want to have a hashtag that says this shit ain't linear, because it's just not. And I think too many entrepreneurs, and to be blunt, too many people of color and women don't understand that this journey involves a lot of no's. It involves a lot of starts and stops, and maybe more stops and starts and more no's than yes. And the reality and the data bears out that For every no, for every yes you have to get, you have to take up anywhere from 10 to 100 no's. That's the truth. And as I've learned in raising money, when you go and raise money, when you get the first no, you go back again and you get the second no. And you go back again and you get the fourth no. And you keep getting no until they tell you, hell no, go away, or they get so tired of you, they write a check for you. But so many times, and again, I appreciate the question, because so many times when people come and they hear the no, they say, well, they told me no because I'm black, or they told me no because I'm a woman. I can commit to you that since I've been at TEDCO, that's not the case. I can't tell you what happened before, but we look at these things. We don't know the color other than the builder fund. We have to see that just because of the statute, but we don't know. Yet, even though we don't know, we're still awarding 60% of our funding to people of color and women. And so part of it is, and part I told you I've been doing this venture game for a long time, and I'm going to come to your second part of your question about the role of the council, but I spent a lot of time in Silicon Valley with people who are just amazing. And they taught me two things. They taught me, one, you have to realize that you're going to lose more than you win. You're going to lose more than you win. But you have to hit more grand slams and home runs to make up for the singles, doubles, and triples that you're going to do. The second thing they told me, which is more relevant to your point, is always, Troy, always invest in A-quality people that have a B-quality plan, and never the reverse. Never the reverse. Never B-quality people with an A-quality, because every company that I've ever been involved with that's actually made some money started out with a decent idea, not a great idea. And the first question I ask the team when they come in with the team is that person coachable? Is that person coachable? Because if they're not coachable, it doesn't matter if you're the next Elon Musk. It doesn't matter. If you aren't willing to listen, if you aren't willing to take guidance, if you aren't willing to listen and understand that you don't have the best idea, you're not going to go very far. And God, it really is a God bless you. And I say that because so many of our, and I hate to say this to be typecast because it's not true, but so many entrepreneurs who are first-time entrepreneurs don't understand that part of it. And to your point, that is what we are trying to coach. And we do try to say, I try to coach the team all the time, and we're not perfect at what I'm about to say, but I want them there. We don't say no. We say, no, this, you aren't ready, or you need to go talk to some other group, or you need to go do this, or you're not the right fit. It's not a no, period, that's it. There's a coaching that comes when we say we can't fund. And so on the UBI, so let me give a little history. And so for years, TEDCO had what was called the Rural Business Innovation Initiative. We divided the state in 4 regions, and we placed individuals into those regions and did some great stuff in those rural regions. And for a variety of reasons, we didn't look at our urban regions. And so I'll tell you this just to be fully transparent. When I started, coming up on 4 years now, a bunch of members of the Black Caucus came to see me, and they showed me some numbers. And the numbers were scary, because outside of the work we were doing with Johns Hopkins in Baltimore and University of Maryland, Baltimore, and College Park here in Prince George's, we did not have a lot of investments in the Black community. We just didn't. We just flat out didn't. And so we made a decision with the board support, the board that we have support, to create the Urban Business Innovation as a pilot. It's going on 3 years now as a pilot. And we focus on Baltimore City and Prince George's County. And we put an individual into each of those, and we work with those, all the different organizations like the ones you just heard from, to make sure, and again, I talk in alliterations, folks, so my apologies. Well, not apologies, I just talk in alliterations. I learned it from my Baptist ministers growing up. And so we stitch things together. You gotta learn how to stitch things together, because through stitching, Councilwoman, you scale things. And so we talk about this notion of if you can stitch things together, then you can scale things. When you stitch and you scale, you can storytell better. When you storytell better, you gain access to greater resources, which allow you to do what? Stitch better, scale better, and storytell even better. But there's a fourth S, because if you stitch better, you stitch better and scale better and storytell better, you can create a higher level of stickiness of those companies that are started and stay and scale in the state of Maryland. And that's the whole point of this. That's what we're trying to do. Because, look, back to alliterations, we're not competing against Virginia. We're not competing against Pennsylvania. We're comparing ourselves to those states. We're competing against China. You got to understand the difference, folks. We're competing against China. And so when I say that, because as we talk about quantum, God bless, President Pine is a dear friend of mine. God bless with the money they're putting into quantum. China's putting over $500 million in the quantum, going to 7% annual. China has more patents on quantum than the next 5 nations combined. That includes the United States. That's the competition, not Virginia. That's what we got to get into our heads. That's what we got to do, Councilwoman. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much. On that note.
I'm going to leave these over here.
Okay. Thank you. Next up, we have financing options for the Bowie Ice Arena, Davenport Company. Our financial advisor will brief council on financing options for the Bowie Ice Arena.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. H. Byron Matthews, Finance Director for the City of Bowie. Tonight is an opportunity to extend our conversation about the newly proposed ice arena and discuss the possible funding methods. As you're aware, the city's debt policies are discussed during the annual budget guidance and are published in the adopted budget book. One of the pillars to Bowie's financial success is the pay-as-you-go financing for its capital improvements. Using this funding mechanism for many of the improvements made throughout the years. 2 of the city's major amenities, the Bowie Gymnasium and the Bowie Senior Center, were both constructed using the pay-as-you-go financing. As we approach the construction of the ice arena, it is sound judgment that leads us here tonight. I have asked Jennifer Derrickson of Davenport Company, the city's financial advisor, to share the proposed financing options for the Bowie Ice Arena. Mrs. Derrickson is the first vice president of Davenport Company, and she will give her presentation regarding the options. Council, staff is not requesting a decision tonight. This presentation is solely informational and for council and for the residents. So Ms. Dickerson, if you...
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Good evening. Thank you for having me. Thank you. So as Mr. Matthews said, the city of Bowie is looking to potentially finance a new ice arena, which would replace your current facility that was built in the 1970s. From my understanding, the proposed ice rink would have 1 sheet of ice and would be built on a parcel of land adjacent to the Bowie Golf Club. The estimated cost for this ice arena is currently $30 million. And the city mentioned financing it over a 30-year period if possible, which matches the useful life of this asset. So as a financial advisor, I'm here to present various financing options that could be used to fund this ice arena. And there's really 2 financing alternatives that we're going to take a look at tonight. One is a direct bank loan, and the second is a competitive public bond sale. So within this presentation, I'll go over the pros and cons of each of these financing alternatives, as well as provide estimated debt service schedules, which will give you an idea of the projected budgetary impact of funding the new ice arena. I will say that the estimated debt service schedules that are included in this presentation, they are conservative. They assume a taxable issuance, and which is in line with actually how the city approached the initial funding. There were some bonds that were issued initially in 2019 for an ice arena, and they were issued taxable. So it is a similar approach to what the city took the last time. But noting that these debt service numbers are preliminary and subject to change based on market conditions. So if we go to slide 3, this is just goes over the pros and cons of doing a direct bank loan. So with a direct bank loan, what would happen is that we would assist the city in drafting a request for a proposal that would outline sort of the terms that we would be looking for the financing for the ice arena. So we would draft and then distribute that to our list of banks. We have over 100 banks that we typically issue these RFPs for our clients. They would take that request for a proposal, and then we would receive responses back. And so the pros of doing a bank loan is it's very easy to execute. Unlike a public bond sale, you don't have to go and get credit ratings. You don't have to put together various disclosure documents such as a preliminary official statement, which is a document that is needed for a public bond sale that provides facts about the city, and you don't need a credit presentation that you need to put together for the rating agencies. Because there is less documentation required for a bank loan, the issuance costs associated with a bank loan tend to be lower. There's also more flexible call provisions. So with a typical public bond sale, just as your last bond sale in 2019, there's usually what's called a 10-year call period, so you can't take that debt out within the first 10 years. It's non-callable until that 10 years is up. With a bank loan, it's more flexible. Banks usually will provide the ability to refund that debt before a 10-year period. The cons, however, is in the current market that we're in, the rates that we've been seeing from banks has actually been a lot higher than what we've seen in the public market. In addition, I know that the last time you all went to market, you financed the ice arena over a 30-year period, and that's what you're potentially looking to do again. With a bank, you have a maximum 20-year amortization, and even the fixed rate period might not even be the full 20 years. So you might get a fixed rate for a 10-year period, and then the rate would reset after that. In addition, the number of bidders might be limited just because we are looking for a fixed rate over a longer period of time. So if we turn to slide 4, this is just a preliminary debt service estimate for the direct bank loan. Based on current market rates, you would be looking at a rate of about 6.15% from a bank, which would equate to about $2.6 million in annual debt service cost over the 20-year amortization. And I should note that, the current ice rink is within the general fund expenditures, and so that's something that the general fund would need to support. I think right now the current ice rink is not self-supporting, so the revenues are not covering its expenditures. If we go to the next slide, this just shows the pros and cons of the competitive public sale. Some pros is when you go to the market, you utilize your credit ratings, and the city has the highest credit ratings that you can achieve from all 3 rating agencies. So that would help ensure good market reception and lower interest rates, which is what you experienced when you went to the market in 2019. In addition, the public market gives more ability to structure the timing of principal payments. As I mentioned, you also can amortize that debt over a longer period of time. So 30 years is a typical amortization that we see in the public market. Cons, however, obviously there's higher issuance costs associated with it because there's going to be those additional documents that I talked about, the official statement. the credit presentation because you're going to have to go to the credit rating agencies. Davenport did take the lead on those documents to help because it can take up a lot of city staff time. So we would be willing to do that again if that was the path that the city chose to do in terms of a financing option. And as I mentioned, also the call provision is typically 10 years, but you could potentially do something shorter, but you're going to pay a little bit more for a shorter call. So on slide 6, this is just a preliminary debt service estimate here. We put both a 20-year amortization and a 30-year amortization. The rate that we estimate for the 20 years of 5.11%, and then we have a 5.37% for the 30-year, and those are preliminary, subject to change. And if you look at, if the bank loan estimated annual debt service was about 2.6 million. So on a 20-year public sale, you have about 2.4 million. So, just under about $200,000 less each year. And then if you go to the 30-year amortization, we're looking at just over 2 million. So about a $600,000 difference annually, providing more flexibility. So if we go to slide 8, just to sort of summarize, just based off of rates, the competitive public sale would produce the lowest cost of funds for the city and the most flexibility in terms of the debt amortization for the upcoming ice arena. The top chart just looks at annual debt service costs, which we already talked about. Both the 20-year and the 30-year competitive public sale do provide lower annual debt service than the bank loan option. However, I will note that the 30-year option, while it does have the lowest annual debt service, total debt service would be about 8.4 million more over the lifetime of the bonds because you are paying interest for a longer period of time. However, the 20-year competitive public sale is $4.2 million lower in total debt service than what we estimate for the bank loan. And so, if the city decides to move forward with the ice arena, as you go through the fiscal 2025 budget process, Davenport would be happy to assist with the planning and successful execution of either the competitive public sale or the direct bank loan, whichever the way the city would like to go. So with that, I'd thank you for your time and be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
First and foremost, thank you for being here, and thank you for your support, the city. We appreciate that. I think a lot of this is very self-explanatory from my perspective. I don't have any questions at this time, but I will open if anybody has any particular question at this time. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. Thank you for being with us this evening. I noted that the rates that you have are 5.1 and 5.3. I thought things were a little bit lower. And where do we stand in terms of the rate inversion for the yields on these? So my understanding was we're in an unusual period right now where the longer term rates are actually lower than the short-term rates. And how does that affect our particular type of bond and going to market during this time frame?
Yep. So you are correct. The yield curve is inverted. So the first few years are actually higher than the longer term. But as I mentioned at the beginning, these are taxable rates, so they tend to be higher than tax-exempt rates. And the reason that we ran it taxable and the reason that you did it taxable the last time is because of potential private use issues. With tax-exempt debt, and this is sort of bond counsel territory, so I'm just going to preference that I am not bond counsel. But with private use, because you have outside entities coming in to utilize the ice arena, only a certain portion, if you were to issue tax-exempt, could be covered under that private use exception. And so you have more flexibility issuing as taxable debt. So that's maybe why the rates are slightly higher than what you would see typically in a municipal tax exempt issuance.
Gotcha. And then the next one is, if you can answer this question,
Yes.
You wouldn't be standing here and you'd be off on an island somewhere.
I know,
Generally speaking, what's the market look like in terms of municipalities going out, obviously wondering about rates going lower? We've been looking at this for the last several months, been waiting for a change. And what are you counseling your clients to do? For example, is it worth a 2-month wait to go get financing? Do I hold out for a little longer? I mean, I got to build the thing, and I want to build it.
Yeah.
Don't misunderstand. I'm not looking to.
Yeah.
This is not completely, schedule optional.
Yeah.
But I do think that we ought to have some strategic thought on this if we are in a declining rate environment. That we perhaps ought to do some thinking about that. What is the council? Is your counsel on that?
Yes, and you were right. If I had a crystal ball, I would definitely be on a beach somewhere. But yes, I mean, everyone's watching the Fed at this point, and when the Fed is going to make a move, we always counsel our clients when you should issue whenever you actually need the money, because you're never fully going to be able to time the market. I think the Fed, in terms of rate adjustments, I think there is an expectation that they might potentially lower rates for the first time maybe in June, although there's been talk of maybe that being pushed out with CPI coming in higher than anticipated this past month. So we'll have to see what happens at the March meeting. But really, it's in terms of timing, our issuers, we usually tell them to go to market when they need to. And then, if something changes in the meantime, we'll certainly, make you all aware.
I think you mentioned that typically these can be issued as 10-year callable.
Yes.
Is that the current standard right now?
It is. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And presumably you would recommend that for us as well.
Yeah, and what we would do too, if you wanted to look at a shorter call, we could run what we call a call analysis. So we wouldn't recommend probably going below an 8-year call, but you could see sort of the cost benefit of it. Just because you do a shorter call, you might have to pay a little bit more. You'd have a higher interest rate basically. But that doesn't guarantee that in 8 years, the market will be such that you would be able to take those out anyways and refund them. So it's sort of, you're making a decision potentially to pay a little bit more in hopes that you would have that opportunity, but it's not something that's guaranteed.
I guess a distinction would be what you think the potential decrease might be and the value of that decrease over a 2-year difference on the call period. I'm not sure I'm really good at figuring out that gambling away that amount. I don't know what the answer is, and we'll certainly rely on your counsel for that. So if we have and actually I'll turn to staff for this. Timing-wise, from the standpoint, we have a schedule, I think, that calls for completion of all design work this spring, followed by a bid process, which we would need to have funding in place at a certain point in time for that. What would it look like for a timing for us when we'd want to be in the market based on our current schedule?
So as far as the timing for the current project, we're looking at an April to May time period for all engineering documents to be ready and to be able to put this project out on the street. The FY25 budget that you all will be receiving shortly will have a request for funding for the ice arena. Mm-hmm.
So if we're finishing in April timeframe, What's a typical lead-up time for bond funding? How long does it take for that?
Public sale takes about 3 months.
3 months. So